Hey folks, I'm attorney Roger P. Foley, and I'm going to talk about DUI, violations of probation, different courthouses, different jurisdictions, penalties, etc. in this video. Have a client, and I'm going to give you a PSA announcement, public service announcement, for how you should choose your attorney. Here are my facts. Client receives a DUI with an accident with a very high breath alcohol content. That breath alcohol content is extremely high, and in my humble opinion, as a NHTSA instructor trained in DUI, I don't even believe that the breath is possible. That's my belief. I'm not a medical doctor, but I'm sure I could call an expert that said the person wouldn't even be able to, they would not even be conscious if they had this kind of breath alcohol level. That's my opinion. All right. Now, I'm not originally on the case. There is another attorney on this case. They plead the person to a DUI, and there is a violation of probation for consuming drugs or alcohol. They tested positive, they tested dirty. Now, when they test positive in this jurisdiction, this is a very tough jurisdiction to be in Florida, and there's several of them, all right? When you go to this jurisdiction, if you violate your probation, almost always in the 90 percentile, whether it's a misdemeanor or felony, you are incarcerated. All right. You have to be very careful. You have to know your judge. You guys know what an open plea is, where you say, Judge, me and the prosecutor can't come to an agreement. I'm going to let you make the decision, and the judge can give you anywhere from the minimum to the maximum. Big risk to do that. I've done videos on that. All right. The client hires this attorney. Now, I've never heard of the attorney, so I ask, I go, what? And they say that they do family, they do immigration, something to that effect. I don't know the name. Surely like someone's not dabbling in another area. You don't dabble in this. It's someone's life, their freedom. I look up the attorney, and they do immigration, and they do family, and I don't know, some other things. Nothing criminal. I go to the Florida Bar website. I notice something else very different. This is the PSA, guys, right? The PSA is do a little research on the attorney you're going to choose. This attorney doesn't advertise for doing any criminal defense. The Florida Bar website says that they don't do criminal defense. Why are they doing criminal defense? The client basically says, listen, I'm guilty. I got a bunch of extenuating circumstances, but the reality is I did it, right? I tested positive, I used. Attorney's recommendation is, hey, let's go to almost like a final VOP hearing and make an argument and let the judge decide. Don't do that, don't do that. Especially in this jurisdiction. They do a hearing, and it's weird how they do it. It's kind of like they did a final VOP hearing. They did all the facts and stuff, but it wasn't called a final VOP hearing. Weird, just a weird situation. And they were given an offer which involved incarceration, but the attorney said, hey, don't do this. Gave the client advice, and who else do you listen to? You listen to your attorney. The hearing was a big flop. Now I'm coming in for sentencing. Now the case, the defendant is taken into custody. I'm brought in last minute to try to fix it. I think I have an angle, but I don't have an angle. And I realize it pretty quickly after being hired. Because the hearing, the arguments have already been made. I'm purely going into, I don't know, really like a Hail Mary. So I contact the prosecutor. Luckily, I've had cases with this prosecutor before. Not a lot. It's not a jurisdiction that I'm in all the time, but the prosecutor, very tough prosecutor, very knowledgeable prosecutor, but tough. But I also thought fair. I've had, I don't know, 5 or so cases maybe with this prosecutor over the years. And let me try to talk to him. So I am trying to convince him. I go, oh, no, you don't know. We went through this hearing, and it's like a tax. And what I mean is, if you go to trial, if you go to a final VOP and you lose, you get a lot worse than what you would have got if you would have fell on the sword. And sometimes, folks, totally guilty people, there's an argument and you can get them off. And they're guilty, but they're innocent because of a technical violation. This was not one of those cases. Anyway, my first problem with the case was like, holy crap, I can't believe this attorney. I ended up calling this attorney. Look, nice person, probably very knowledgeable, but they told me that they shared space with a criminal attorney so they would get pointers and hints. Whoa! Listen, I get it. You got to like kind of dabble in. I don't get it, honestly. You got to list it. You got to learn it. You got to be trained on it. You at least got to have co-counsel. This person took the case. They don't know much about criminal. And then they're giving recommendations in a very tough jurisdiction, in a very tough place, and it backfired. I got to put some culpability to that attorney. That's just the reality. Folks, if you hire an attorney, if you're hiring, an attorney that does personal injury, make sure they do personal injury. If they do criminal, make sure this guy didn't have anything on the website. Nothing, not a drop, but takes the case. It's getting scary out there. Anyway, so I go in, I talk to the prosecutor back and forth, and the prosecutor's really not budging. I talk to them on the phone, then I go and meet with them in person, and the prosecutor's, listen, I'll just defer to the court. I'll cap it at, 5 months or whatever the time period is. And I'm going, and she goes, the prosecutor says to me, just go talk to the judge. Talk to the judge and make your argument, and I'll defer to the court. And I go, listen, how many cases have I had with you? 5 in 20 years? 5? Right? I go, that judge doesn't know me. That judge doesn't even going to remember that we had cases before from 5 years ago. I go, it's not like when I walk into Palm Beach where judges know me. They know my character. They know my work ethic, right? They know that, most importantly, that I don't lie. I'm not going to come up with some bullshit story to win a case. I'm going to work within the facts, within the law. I'm not a sleazy defense attorney. And I'm not saying other people are. I think I have a solid reputation for being a genuinely good person and a solid attorney. I don't know what my reputation is. In my own mind, that's what it is. Anyway, when I said that to her, I go, I don't have any juice with this judge. She smiled and she goes, you do know your job. And I go, I do. I go, and she goes, okay. And then she worked with me and ultimately half the sentence of what it was going to give with a reinstatement. But said, we need to go and have a conference with the judge before they take the bench, right? So in the back room with the judge. And I kind of like, okay. She goes, listen, I can't make any promises, but this is what I'm going to make the offer as. You've convinced me. Give the person a shot. There's punishment and there's treatment, that kind of thing. But I don't know what the judge will do. Now we go back to the judge. The judge goes, judge shakes my hand. I go, we've met before, Judge. I've probably had 5 or 10 cases over the years with you. Oh, good to see you again, that kind of thing. But the judge didn't remember me, just like I thought. and the prosecutor makes the pitch of and the first thing the judge says is, oh, this is the hearing where they tried to pull the wool over my eyes, kind of shady. And Judge, I wasn't here. I'm not the attorney. I'm not associated. I just took over the case, and we're not going to be doing that, Judge. And the judge listens. The state mostly talks, and the judge says, okay. And I humanize my client a little bit. Listen, there's culpability, there's drinking, right? There's a clear violation. But I said a couple good things. I wanted to explain like what treatment they had gone through. Just a little tab of it. And then the judge says, okay, I'll accept it on one condition. And I've never heard this before. So the judge says, going to do this amount of jail, going to be reinstated back on probation. But if the client violates, they're going to do the max. And they're going to waive any jail time that they've done. I've never even heard of that. So if the client was to do 3 months of jail on a year sentence, if they violate after they get out of jail, they'll do the year. Normally, that's not even a possibility. That's not something, I've never even heard of that. It's usually a condition of probation. You do some jail, you get out, you go back on probation. But I've never heard of a prosecutor asking to waive it. I've never heard of a judge saying it. And I looked at the judge, I said, Judge, I'm sorry, I'm not even sure that that's even possible to do. And the judge goes, it is, trust me, it's a thing. That's how the judge said, it's a thing. Now, what do I do, right? I'm not going to debate with the judge because I'm trying to get the judge to agree to what I just got it down to. So, of course, I'm going to go, okay, you have to explain it to your client that they are waiving their jail time, including this jail time, and that if they violate again, they get the max. Never even heard of it, don't know if it's legal, got to do the research. Now I got to go explain to my client something that I've never even counted before. But the reality is they're happy because they're getting half of what they thought that they were getting, right? I explained to the client, the judge makes it part of the record. I have to research it, but every time you go to a jurisdiction, you learn something new. This is my new thing. As far as understanding violations of probation, know that there are counties, there are judges from Dade to Jacksonville. I've been from Monroe to Jacksonville. There are jurisdictions that you don't go open. You do not ask a judge to make a decision. You understand that if you violate, you're going to be incarcerated. I mean, it just, I remember when I first became an attorney, that was Stanton Kaplan, one of the really great judges, but he was known as the toughest judge in America. Solid judge, a solid judge. But when I first went in there, I had a life felony and I was scared out of my mind. That judge meant business. I remember trying to talk once, an advocate, he goes, "I'm not talking to you, counsel." And he just cut me off. And I learned his style, and I learned and actually befriended the judge over time. But just like I tell people when they're talking to police, if you are spoken to, and if you choose to speak, because I'm not an advocate for speaking, keep your lips shut. But if you're going to speak, never lie, never exaggerate. Give it the way it is, raw, to the point, because a judge will respect that more than, "Oh, we're doing this, and this is what happened, this is why," because you're creating excuses. And I hate excuses myself, so the problem is there was a bunch of excuses made, and they were going to max this person out. And it wouldn't have been good. It wouldn't have been good. And it wouldn't have been fair. But I get it, there's two sides, right? There's treatment side and punishment side, and depending on what side of the fence you are in regards to that determines. On this case, I knew that punishment had to be made, but I didn't want it to be the maximum punishment, and I had to work to be able to have this person have the opportunity to prove themselves doing treatment on their own. So it wasn't even a condition of the plea. Just tough. Pay attention to who you hire. Don't hire a tax guy to do your case like Mike Tyson did back in the day, right? Because you end up in prison. This could have really went sideways, and I didn't save the client totally, but I saved them a lot of time. So I think they're very appreciative, and I'm wishing them luck. And just, I hope people watch these videos and learn from them. I just tell you real stuff of what happens. And know your attorney, know your judge, do your research. Don't just rely on somebody because they have a degree. When I have a heart issue, I don't go to a chiropractor, right? I don't. When I have a vision problem, I don't go to a podiatrist. I can't believe that in 2025 there are attorneys that are taking cases that have zero knowledge. I think I told you, I talked to the attorney, very nice person. I'm probably good at what their area is, but I share space with somebody and they know criminal, and I get pointers from them, and I'm like, holy shit, like, you can crush someone's life doing that. Don't dabble. Get help. It's okay. Get help. At least get a co-counsel on the case. Anyway, I'm Roger P. Foley. Have a great day.